Hey Anthony, do you like my new shirt?
Sure, man. It's cool. Could have been better.
What was that?
I said it could have been better.
You want to fight about
Yeah, I
it?
do. Let's go, chump. Hold on a second. We don't need to fight.
We don't?
All you need to do is go to 86.com and choose from one of their many designs. Franchises range from Skullgirls to Street Fighter and even BlazBlue. And if you check out 86 through this Twitch channel, use 86.com slash question mark AFF equals 4 to let them know that Mission Star Podcast sent you. Hello everybody, this is Anthony Bounce from Mission Star Podcast, and I have another video regarding this past week of news because there were definitely been big stuff happening as we are talking right now, as well as other things happening around the week for the gaming industry news. One of the things I do want to discuss for this next one is the PS5 details and how that has ensued. So, let me go ahead and get the article. This was posted actually on Sony's website. As I move just this here. An update to on next gen PlayStation 5 launches holiday 2020. This is posted by Jim Ryan, President and CEO of SIE. Since we originally unveiled our next generation console in April, we know that there's been a lot of excitement and interest in hearing more about the future of games will bring. Today I'm proud to share that our next generation console will be called PlayStation 5 and will be launching in time for the holiday 2020. These updates may not be huge surprises, but we wanted to confirm them for our PlayStation fans as we start to reveal more additional details about our version of the next generation. Wire Magazine covered these updates and more in the story that posted this morning. The more refers to something that I'm quite excited about, a preview of the new controller that will ship with PlayStation 5. One of our goals in the next generation is to deepen the feeling of immersion when you play games, and we had the opportunity with our new controller to reimagine how the sense of touch can add to that immersion. To that end, there are two key innovations with PlayStation 5's new controller. First, we're adopting a haptic feedback to replace the rumble technology found in controllers since the 5th generation of consoles. With haptics, you truly feel a broader range of feedback, so crashing into a wall in a race car feels much different than making a tackle on a football field. You can even get a sense for a variety of textures when running through fields of grass or plodding through mud. The second innovation is something we call adaptive triggers, which can be incorporated into the trigger buttons L2, R2. Developers can program the resistance of the triggers so they can feel the tactile sensation of drawing a bow and arrow, or accelerating an off-road vehicle through a rocky terrain. In combination with the haptics, this can provide a powerful experience that better simulates various actions. Game creators that have received early versions of the new controller, and we can't wait to see what their imagination goes with the new features at their disposal. While there's much more to share about PlayStation 5 in the year ahead, we have plenty of blockbuster experiences coming your way this PS4, including Death Stranding, Last of Us Part 2, and Ghost of Tsushima. So, okay. There's been a lot of talk about PlayStation 5. Now that we have an actual release window and when it's coming out. So, holiday of 2020 next year, which is funny because it's almost the same time frame as the next Xbox console. Now, that's obviously, was that planned? I'm pretty sure it wasn't, but partially believes that maybe they are. And the things they've been talking about with this new PlayStation 5, that they're looking into when you play a game, there will be no load times. They're using a SSD hard drive for their new console, and on top of that, They were touting like you will no longer have to worry about load times when you play a game. Which, if that is true, if we are going to get games where there's no longer load times, then you are consistently in that world and immersed in it. Then you're consistently getting into a very different mindset when it comes to game devs and designing around that. Because, for the longest time, we had, every other game that you would play to be a level that is loaded. It's, hey, we got to load this next level for you, or we got to load this next scene for you so you continue on with the game. And there has been open world games where, there was no loading, obviously. But there are definitely things to consider when it comes to that change. If you have if you're a game dev and you have to now create games that are much more open world or much more active, that's going to change the dynamic of future games when it comes to the PS5, which would make things interesting. Because if that's the case, it might be a split between game devs when it comes to making games for the PS5 versus making games for PC, Xbox, and so on. So you're splintering off a game. I feel like if at that point, like, you're better off just making a game for the PS5 if you're going that route, and then maybe soon afterwards, if you can, like, port it to the other consoles and other on the PC at some point. It's an interesting thing that they're touting, and it's, as a consumer, like, that's cool. As a dev, I kind of wondered, like, is that, I'm kind of curious about that. I'm also kind of worried. It's like, what is that going to look like for the dev? Definitely it's going to be interesting to see how that goes. One of the things they also talked about is the controller, which they have been touting that, now has HD Rumble with the audio, which, if you played the Nintendo Switch, same thing, or HD, Rumble, it makes you feel like, hey, if you hit by this, you feel this. But like, if you use it to, as like on a Switch, where you can move around the controllers to feel that, the ice clank in the cup. Like, it's okay, cool. Hey, whatever. Honestly, it's it's whatever. If it helps make it more immersion, then sure, why not? And then, obviously they're just like saying, like, we're the best graphics on the market. And then Microsoft kind of went out there not short afterwards, like, oh, actually, we had the better graphics, because they can. And Microsoft has been good on that. It's still going to be high up there, but yeah, that, and just, they're also getting ready for their own streaming service, or maybe revamping that. They did recently discounted the PS Now $10 cheaper, and there are definitely some ideas and plans on what they want to do with that. And honestly, like, when it comes to the PS5, when it comes to Sony, like, just thinking about this generation, I mean, like, this whole generation started with, a big flop from Microsoft. Like, the way that they started off at that press conference, talking about the Xbox One and what changes or what things they want to force upon people. Don Matrick, like, just did a horrible job with it, and really butchering not only the brand, but also the Microsoft as well. Like, it took them a very long time to really repair their image, and it definitely is a thing where, it's it took them a while to repair the image and to work on a lot of things, to kind of shooting for the moon when it comes to, hey, we should definitely do more consumer friendly stuff to garner people's opinion about us, and tell people that the Xbox One is the best platform on the planet. Game Pass was a huge thing that they did, and it's something that definitely helped them along. The things that I want to say Phil Harrison, but it's not his name. The head of Xbox is doing right now, that has been out there, that has been talking to people, that has been talking about the xCloud, talking about, the new stuff that's coming to Microsoft and the things that they've been working on. They definitely have changed it around, and it took them a while to do so. And, in this generation, it's going to be the story that how Sony basically walked on stage and then made a few jabs at Microsoft and won the console wars per se in this generation against Microsoft. Microsoft shot themselves in the foot, and that was kind of the whole thing for this generation. And PlayStation went in and basically said like, hey, we're going to support the players. We're gonna have consumer friendly features. We're gonna have exclusives on our console. That's gonna be badass. And for all it's worth, like PlayStation has a great lineup of exclusives on their console. It's what sells the PS4 for the most part, and it's been that's been the story for this generation. So what has happened over time, honestly, when it comes to now we're getting to the next generation consoles, the landscape is now. Sony has become much more arrogant. They've been the last ones to finally accept crossplay when it comes to the other consoles. They have been, always they've been against it. Like they've been saying like you could play PlayStation 4 and the great people are on there. You don't need crossplay, essentially. They've been the last ones to tout that or to do it, and they finally just did recently. There's a lot of changes within PlayStation corporates that's happening at this moment. Sean Layden recently just left Sony without no other than a tweet from Sony that had no tag of him, doesn't tag him in a tweet, mentions him, says, best of luck, but just not in the traditional Sony way that they would, have good wishes or anything of that nature to anybody who leaves Sony on a good note. And he hasn't spoken anything about it as well. So there's only rumors and just kind of wondering like what's happening in Sony. So Sony's in a weird place, but they're definitely set up as the bad guy right now. Like they're definitely right now set up as the company that people don't like, and that Microsoft is the company that everybody should like and everybody should go for. And Microsoft, I feel like this is what Microsoft has been leading up to. And Microsoft will say, and they'll say like, hey, we don't think about the numbers. We don't think about anything about the console wars or anything. They're just there to provide for their customers, which to a degree, yes, absolutely they are. But my thing is, I think they still care to some degree. I think that, as I said in the previous video, you think of it as a company. These game companies can be your friends as much as you may think, but the bottom line, the bottom dollar is that they're all there for your money, no matter what. Otherwise, how is this company going to operate? So that's the thing. That's the thing that I you have to remember, but I have to remember as well. So with that being said, this is definitely a let up for Microsoft to prepare themselves to possibly overtake Sony in this next generation of consoles. Now, the thing is interesting is like I think honestly, and I've been saying this on this podcast, I think Microsoft's true end game is the Game Pass. I think that Game Pass for them is actually what's going to make much more money than the consoles themselves or the exclusives themselves. I think that's going to be a big thing. Put it on as many consoles or as many things as possible. I still believe that the Game Pass will come to the Switch. I think it will still happen in the future. And I think it's going to definitely be something that we'll wait and see. But I do believe that's going to happen. Having it on, maybe eventually on Android. Correct me if I'm wrong on that one. In the comments, and possibly other, iPhone, iPad, and so on. Like I think that's the end goal for Microsoft. They've been touting the Game Pass for so long that I feel like that's what their true thing is going for. Yes, they're still going to put out consoles, but is it going to be a big jump from Xbox One X to the biggest whatever thing they're going to do, Project Scarlet? Like at this moment in time, I think Microsoft is doing what. I think that they're definitely just focusing on just upgrading their consoles, not majorly, but just slightly upgrading it over time. And that's the way they're going to do things from now on. almost like a phone. Like, like you get a phone and you upgrade it to the next one when it dies out or when it comes to the next one. So that, I believe, is Microsoft's plan, and I think that they've been setting themselves up to get ready to overtake Sony in this next generation of consoles. As much as they don't want to say it, but I think that's truly what they're trying to do. As far as Sony goes, going back to them, I've been hearing there was a quote I did read on this podcast regarding in the Wired magazine saying that the price is going to be at a good range despite what's inside the PS5. And I'm paraphrasing there, but it's essentially what they were saying in the Wired magazine. And I talked about it on the podcast, and that got me worried because like it says basically that we have expensive stuff in our PS5. The price for it's going to be cheap for what's inside it, which means it could mean that the PS5 might be $500, $600. The last time this happened was with the launch of the PS3. The PS3 started out with, I want to say $600. Maybe it was $500, but that's on top of the controllers, not on top of maybe like 1 or 2 games. And it was too high. It was too high. The price was too high, and that really hurt Sony. And Microsoft came in and came with a cheaper box, had a bunch of third-party support, and able to really latch onto that and take it for that generation of consoles. So it seems like Sony might be making the same mistake again. We have to wait and see exactly how that works out, but if Sony makes the same mistake again, then we're gonna see the swing of power per se when it comes between Microsoft and Sony back to Microsoft's court. The question is, can Microsoft keep that up? Can they keep what they've been doing for the past couple of years onto this next generation of consoles? If they can, that's great. That's awesome. But if they become that arrogant Microsoft that we saw back, with Xbox One beginning with Don Matrick, it's going to alienate the people, and it's going to go back to PlayStation if PlayStation decides to do anything, or just to Nintendo, because Nintendo's been killing it with the Switch. Anything they make or anything they put out has just been widely loved. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in this next year, but 2020 is going to be huge. We're getting a ton of games that people are waiting for and excited for, on top of the new consoles coming out holiday of next year. So it's going to be interesting to see as far as like the other big thing's going to be cloud streaming, and that's going to be another big thing. Microsoft doing xCloud and having the cloud gaming with Microsoft, and just having a bunch of servers that have set up for people to play games in the possible future could be interesting. It's the same thing almost as Google Stadia. In terms of like, in America, like if you're in America, there's data caps, and that's going to be an issue. And when it comes to streaming games, especially high qualities, so like it's going to be interesting how Microsoft approaches that. I believe they say you can download those games, but don't quote me on that exactly. But cloud streaming is going to be the future of gaming, and whether we like it or not, it's going to be the way it is. And data caps be damned. Like, it's going to be definitely something that Sony and Microsoft are definitely looking at and are aiming for. So it's crossplay will happen. It will. I mean, I hope it continues to happen. I hope that is the next generation of the new consoles will have that. And it's gonna be huge. Hopefully, that involves into cross saves as well, or cross progression. But we have to wait and see. Like, I honestly feel that Sony is in a situation where if they do not deliver next year, that they're gonna fall behind Microsoft, and Microsoft's gonna take that opportunity. So that's what I think. Honestly, PS5, I don't know what to really want in a new console from Sony. I really don't. The consoles are all the same at this point, except for Switch. I honestly don't feel like there's much you can you can do to really get me excited for our PS5. Like, it's, graphics are better, okay. New controller, sure. We're at a point where like they're all the same. Like, there was not much of a difference between the PS4 and Xbox One, and then Xbox One X and PS4 Pro. Like, it's all the same thing. It's just a much higher fidelity. I mean, I could say the PS5 will have 4K natively finally. 4K isn't. Well, I remember reading that 4K is not in the PS4 at the moment. It kind of is, but it's not. But the PS5 does have true native 4K. 4K Blu-ray player, I want to say. But yeah, like I don't know what I want out of PS5, honestly. Like, graphics are better, sure, but like I don't know what you would do at this point. It's all about the games, which it should be. It's all about the games, and those has been. But at this point, like unless there's some cool features that I would like to find out about the PS5, it has to be something that really has to blow my mind. But like at this point, like little wrinkles here and there aren't going to make the biggest deals. It's basically going to become, and especially with crossplay, like Sony has to have something that would definitely get people on their side or to buy the console. And the one thing I can think of is exclusives. That's the only thing I can think of, because they have good ones in the PS4 era. Can they have good ones in the PS5? From what they've shown this past generation, yes, absolutely. But that's about it. So I don't know. I do not know what the future holds, but like it's going to be interesting to see how exactly it's going to be. But want to share my thoughts on the PS5 and coming out next year. Next year's going to be huge for the game industry. Consoles, new games. It's going to be a big, big year for everybody. So with that being said, thank you for watching, everybody. We'll see you guys next time.